This is a canine toenail that was ripped off quite catastrophically in a very unfortunate accident, kind of a freak accident. You can see some of the tissue inside there. This was a very painful injury to this dog. And it provides an opportunity for other people to learn. I want to show you guys that this on the right side of that pointer there is the part of the nail that we would see, and everything to the left of it is actually in tissue and inside where the material is made of the toenail itself. This is where it grows. This part is actually in the furry part of the pad. You can actually see some of the hair is still attached there. So there's a great deal of structure that roots the nail inside. We're going to do a little drawing here and show that up more closely. So this brown squiggly line I'm drawing here represents where the hairy part of the toe, the actual hide part, would be burying that part of the nail inside. This red mark is going to be that blood supply and what is called the quick that feeds the nail, and it is the sensitive part that would bleed if you cut the nail too short, or in this case, in a terrible injury. This little blue mark I'm drawing represents a membrane that covers the end of the blood vein, and this would be the tip that could be cut off. So you can see this dog's nails are not terribly overdue for a nail trim. They're in fact in a better state than a lot of nails that I see. And I'll show you that a little later on. This is the actual foot belonging to the dog taken the morning of this catastrophic injury. And here we're going to lay this toenail over so you can really see the rooted part of the toenail versus the part that is visible to the eye. So we're going to get this lined up here. And now you can see that dark part of the nail was actually covered in tissue. And then the whiter part toward the root where it's growing out of the body would be buried, very deep inside. So again, we're going to draw. This would be buried in the hair and in some of that thicker tissue of the toe. So that part, everything to the left here that I'm drawing where the blood supply comes from, is inside of the toe. Here's this quick again, where it's going to do a really quick representation here. And again, everything to the left of this brown line would be buried inside of the toe, and everything to the right is sticking out. Here is the membrane that covers the blood vein at the end, and here would be the tip that we could cut off. So again, not terribly overdue for a nail trim. This dog is just due for a trim, but pretty decent nails compared to some of the dogs that I see. Now I want to point out here, let's do this again, we'll line it up. I want to point out to you guys the importance of what we're looking at. So again, everything to the left is buried inside of the toe. Okay, so it's what roots and anchors the toe. Everything here to the right is outside. So we have about 50% inside and 50% outside. So this is a pretty balanced toenail, okay? We have about the same amount that's sticking out that would be contacting the ground and life in general as it is anchored on the inside of the toe. And we can show here when this toenail is redone, we'll show you if we were to do this trim and this tip would be cut off. We'll pretend that isn't there. So this would be a correct trim for her. Now we have an even better situation. We have about 60% of this toenail is rooted inside and 40% is sticking out into the environment. So this is a very strong toenail, which would be not as prone to injury. We're going to give a smiley face here. So that would be very ideal. Now here we have nails that are neglected and they are overdue for a trim. We're going to do some quick drawing here. So this represents that quick, the blood vein inside, and this represents that internal anchoring portion of the nail that is inside. Everything else, this direction is external. So you can see we're very unbalanced. We have about 25% of this dog's entire nail is the internal anchoring structure, and about 75% is contacting the outer world. So this nail is going to be very prone to injury. We're going to give that a little frowny face. This dog needs some nail care. So we're going to look at this in another way here. Let's do some drawing again. We're going to represent this internal blood vein structure that is representing the quick and where that nail tissue is made internally. This represents that membrane that covers the very end of the blood vein. Everything else needs to be removed, cut and ground safely down with a Dremel. And there is so much pressure, ground pressure, that is created by the nails pushing into the floor or grass or concrete or anything they're running around on. And this just creates so much pressure and so much strain on these joints. It's actually creating a misalignment of the toe joint itself. We're going to backtrack here and we are going to actually take a look at that toe alignment. Pardon the howling in the background. Look here at this toe. It's actually making almost an S-curve shape from that ground pressure distorting the alignment of the toe, which creates a lot of joint pain here. And over time, it can even lead to arthritis in the joint for this dog. So it's a good thing that she's coming in for nail care now and we're getting her on the right track. Bruising of the nail bed is also very common. Dogs get very sore there, and that can make them also resistant to nail care because the nails themselves are already so sore from being smashed into the ground all the time when they're just trying to walk around or play or whatever they're doing. So now I want to see here, maybe some of you noticed this, maybe some of you did not. This is one of the other very common injuries I see is vertical fracturing of the nail. So see how those little crack is starting at the bottom? The nails can split vertically all the way up into the tissue, and it's a very extremely painful injury for a dog, and I see this way too often. So let's look again there. You can see that fracturing starting, and if they don't get properly cared for, this can split, and sometimes it turns into a veterinary situation. So we saw that catastrophic injury to the dog's foot on the left. You can see those nails are not in bad shape. So what would an injury look like to those nails that are much too long? So these are some things to think about, why it's important to have your dog's nails cared for regularly and to get those quicks shortened up. Thanks for watching.